Welcome, dreamers and drifters, to Whispers of History, the channel where bedtime stories are longer, slower, and deeply factual. You're not here for drama. You're here for detail, the kind that gently lulls you into sleep while sneaking in centuries of culture. Tonight, we're folding ourselves, gracefully of course, into a topic that's part elegance, part weapon, and part social statement. Why samurai were obsessed with folding fans. This is your first cup of a very slow-brewed journey. So if you're watching with tired eyes and a full mind, you're exactly where you need to be. Go ahead, like, subscribe, and let us know in the comments. Where are you watching from, and what time is it in your corner of the world? Now breathe in, let your shoulders drop. The paper fan doesn't unfold all at once, neither will this story. Well, let's ease into tonight's journey. You begin on a gravel path lined with moss. The kind of moss that's older than your country and slightly judgmental about your footwear. The air is quiet, but not empty. Crickets chirp like gossiping aunties, and a nearby bamboo grove sways with a rhythm that feels choreographed. Is in your hand a fan, not the electric kind, not the plastic kind. A folding fan, lacquered ribs, painted silk, faint scent of sandalwood. It doesn't cool you much, but it does make you feel like someone who understands things. Here's your cheeky warning, you probably won't make it through this day. Not because it's dangerous, just slow, soft, sleepy. You'll be dreaming before the shogun finishes his sentence. A historical fact of the hour. The Japanese folding fan, or sensu, dates back to at least the 6th century and was a symbol of social rank as well as a practical tool. Samurai, poets, monks, they all had one. But they didn't all use it the same way. A strange cultural tidbit floats in with the breeze. Some samurai had fans that doubled as iron weapons called 1 minute grace and etiquette, the next, a concealed headbutt in a war meeting. Think of it as history's version of passive-aggressive multitasking. You walk past a garden where koi flick their tails like they've read your thoughts. A man in armor stands nearby, adjusting his sash with the same intensity you reserve for untangling phone chargers. His fan hangs delicately at his side, lacquered black edge gleaming faintly in the sun. The scholars still debate whether fans were more tool or statement. Did they mean discipline or danger? But as you step onto the wooden porch of a Kyoto estate, the fan in your hand tapping softly against your palm, you realize it doesn't really matter. You've already begun to carry yourself differently. And the fan hasn't even opened yet. You're sitting inside now. Tatami mats beneath you, smooth paper screens casting soft light in rectangles. A tea kettle hums quietly in the next room, like a polite ghost asking if you'd like a second cup. In front of you, 3 men sit in a line, knees folded beneath them. Their fans lie closed beside them like loyal dogs. No one speaks. Not because they're shy, but because timing is everything here and silence is a type of punctuation. One of them finally lifts his fan, not to cool himself, but to signal a servant behind the screen. It's a single flick, barely noticeable, but it works. The tea arrives seconds later. You blink, they don't. A historical fact, fans were often used as signaling tools in battle formations. One gesture could mean retreat, another could mean attack, and one unfortunate flick could mean oops. During the period, generals would sometimes coordinate entire armies using hand fans, because why shout when you can simply gesture? Today's obscure delight. In some elite schools, young warriors were taught fan etiquette alongside swordsmanship. One wrong flick at a dinner party could end your career faster than bad posture in a kimono. Imagine failing ninja school not because you couldn't throw a star, but because your fan choreography was offbeat. Tension hovers like incense. You shift your weight and it feels like a betrayal. The man on the left opens his fan slowly, deliberately. It reveals a painting of a mountain, bold strokes of blue and black. It's beautiful, but more than that, it's a statement. The scholars still debate whether certain fan designs carried coded messages or were just aesthetic choices. Was a flex or a metaphor? Was gold paint a political alignment or just good taste? You lower your eyes, your own fan rests on your lap unopened, still silent, still potent. Somewhere outside, the wind lifts a bamboo leaf, a soft whisper against the wall. And you think maybe the fan doesn't speak, maybe it listens. You're still in the tea room. And time, for the moment, is politely refusing to move forward. A drop of tea hangs from the spout of the kettle like it's thinking something over. The men seated across from you haven't blinked since Section 2. At least, it doesn't feel like they have. But you're learning to sit in the stillness. Your knees ache a little, your spine is too aware of itself, but there's a strange peace in it. As if your whole body has been given permission to do absolutely nothing beautifully. You're holding the fan now, still closed, still mysterious. It's an object that asks for your patience before it reveals anything, which honestly is a better social skill than most apps. The man in the center finally moves. He gestures not with a hand but with his fan. One crisp motion like a brushstroke, the other two men nod, no words, no translation. But somehow you understand it's your turn. You open your fan, slowly, awkwardly. Definitely not with the practiced ease of someone who's been to fan school, but it opens. A simple design, one plum blossom curled at the edge like it's mid-laughter. Though they say nothing, but they see you now. Your historical fact today, in addition to battlefield use, the fan was a mark of rank in the imperial court and among samurai. The more ribs your fan had, the higher your status. Some fans had over 30 ribs, like carrying in your palm, but prettier. Now that you're paying attention, you notice theirs. The man in the middle has a 25-rib fan, dense, deliberate. The man to his left, only 17, a junior maybe. The one on the right, his is wrapped in silk, probably ceremonial, possibly insufferable. Today's odd cultural nugget. In some regions of Edo, Japan, people believed that sneezing while holding an open fan was terribly unlucky. Not just socially awkward, actually a bad omen. So if your nose tickles, may I suggest folding your future back in first. As the tea is poured, the ritual continues. Each man lifts his cup just slightly before drinking. You mimic them. The tea is earthy, hot, a little bitter, like life but drinkable. Though the man in the middle speaks for the first time. The fan hides the face, not the intention. You nod slowly, pretending you've always known what that means. Historians still debate whether fan language was a formalized system or more of a regional improvisation. Was there a strict visual vocabulary, or did it shift with the wind like fashion and political alliances? But this much is certain: the fan was never just about breeze. And neither are you. You step outside again. The sun has shifted, lower now but warmer. As if it's given up on impressing anyone and is just enjoying its job. You walk through a gravel courtyard raked in hypnotic lines. The kind of place where even a leaf landing feels like a disruption. You try not to breathe too loudly. Ahead, a small dojo waits. Wooden planks, open walls. It smells of sweat, cedar, and old determination. Inside, a group of young samurai kneel in rows. Their instructor walks slowly behind them, fan in hand, not to cool off but to correct posture. He taps one student on the shoulder. The boy adjusts immediately. Another tap, a sharper correction. Your historical fact. In schools of the Edo period, instructors sometimes used fans instead of swords during training to instill control and precision. A fan strike to the wrist was gentler than a blade, but still stung enough to leave a lesson. You stand just outside observing. No one acknowledges you, but they know you're there, like a shadow that's not quite part of the room. Suddenly, the instructor pauses. He raises his fan high. In unison, every student rises, opens their fans, and strikes a pose. It's choreographed, some strange intersection of martial arts and theater. And here's the strange bit. In certain performance traditions like kabuki and no, the folding fan was used to represent nearly anything: swords, sake, cups, birds, or even heartbreak. One fan, endless metaphors, which really saves on props if nothing else. While you step closer, the instructor sees you. He nods once. A student hands you a practice fan, made of sturdy bamboo, edges dull but definitive. You kneel beside him. He whispers, "Follow the form, not the feeling." You do. Raise, flick, extend. Your arm moves with intention. Your wrist says, "I'm learning." Your shoulder says, "Ow." But something settles in your chest. A rhythm, a stillness. The sequence ends. Fans fold in unison like the closing pages of a well-loved book. You bow, they bow, the instructor bows last. Historians still debate whether fan-based combat was ever truly effective in open battle. Was it real defense or symbolic flourish? A last resort or a first deception? But you know this much now. Well, there's a strength in grace. And sometimes the most dangerous thing in the room folds up quietly and fits in your sleeve. You're walking now barefoot, slow, through a covered walkway of polished wood that seems to sigh beneath each step. Somewhere behind you, the dojo fades into silence again. You carry the fan in both hands now, as if it's a letter from someone important that you're still trying to understand. The corridor opens onto a small garden. Not the kind with loud blooms or trimmed hedges, this one's quiet. Wild in a controlled way. Moss, rocks, a single cherry tree shedding blossoms like it's just a little overdramatic today. A bench waits beneath it as if it knew you were coming. You sit, you don't rush. That's the rule here in this slow and folded world. A breeze lifts a few blossoms into your lap. You brush them away with your fan. It's useful, but not in any way an app would categorize. A historical fact of the hour. During the period 794–1185, aristocrats used folding fans as writing tablets. Messages were written on the slats in ink, sometimes poems, sometimes notes, and sometimes love letters folded away like secrets that could flutter open at just the right moment. You imagine someone slipping you a fan across a crowded room, the painted surface hiding something scandalous, or awkward, or badly spelled. The historical record doesn't always tell us how often people got rejected via fan. Today's obscure cultural detail. In some rituals, fans were used to bless objects by waving air toward them. Not incense, not holy water, just air, very fancy air. Your own fan rests on your lap now. You turn it over, admiring the lacquered ribs, the way the paper creases hold their shape like someone very stubborn. It's both fragile and unbending. A strange thing to admire, and yet. As a monk walks past in the distance, his robe flutters. He carries a fan, too. Plain, unpainted, edges worn smooth by time, he doesn't wave it, he just has it. Like a memory he refuses to let go of. The scholars still debate whether fan-carried monks were making a spiritual statement or simply avoiding the heat. And to be fair, both seem valid. You sit until the sun angles lower, until the garden hums with evening things. You rise, and your fan, quiet, loyal, mysterious, rises with you. Dinner time. But not yours, you're not eating yet. First, you watch. You've wandered into the servants' quarter, soft voices, clinking bowls, the smell of miso and grilled fish curling through the narrow air. You're not supposed to be here, but no one minds. You have the face of someone who gets lost with confidence. An old woman sits at the edge of a wooden platform, folding fans in her lap. Not one, many, dozens, most are chipped or faded. One is held together with twine and faiths. She sees you, she pats the space beside her. You said. She fans herself absently, not for grace, for sweat. It's summer here now, or maybe just a warmer night than expected. Her hair is pulled back with a comb. Her sleeves are rolled. Her hands look like they've handled more seasons than you've had bad ideas. Here's your historical fact. In the Edo period, fan making was a regulated industry. Certain families, often in Kyoto, held guild privileges to produce fans for the court and samurai. Designs weren't just aesthetic, they were monitored for quality, symbolism, and hierarchy. She pulls out a battered fan and hands it to you. It's ugly, let's just admit that. The paint is faded, the spine is cracked, and something sticky is holding one rib in place. This one, she says, was used in a festival. She doesn't say which, doesn't need to. You can picture it. Laughter, lanterns, bad dancing, someone accidentally lighting their sleeve on fire. An obscure fact, in some rural Japanese festivals, fans were handed out with fortunes written inside. You wouldn't know your fate until you opened it under the right moonlight. And if it said something terrible, you had to fold it back in and pretend you never saw it. Now you open this fan slowly. No fortune inside, just air. But it feels older than most rooms you've ever stood in. The woman is now quietly watching a kettle boil over an open flame. Her fan rests beside her again. And you realize sometimes a fan isn't a tool or a symbol or a signal. Sometimes it's just a rhythm. It's a way of marking time when clocks aren't welcomed. A gesture so old it's almost prayer. She doesn't say goodbye as you leave. You don't need her to. You fold the fan, bow your head, and step into the night. Your own fan feels heavier now, not in your hand, but in what it carries. Like a sentence you haven't quite finished yet. Historians still debate whether fans in rural homes were passed down intentionally or simply never thrown away. Was it legacy or just habit? Either way, the fans stay. And now, so do you. The moon is up now. Not bold, not poetic, just there like it's been doing this shift for centuries and has stopped trying to be impressive about it. The sky is a gentle smear of ink and cloud. Crickets have clocked in. Somewhere a bamboo fountain knocks rhythmically like a polite ghost tapping on a wooden door. You're walking again, slowly. That's the only speed anyone seems to understand here. You've wandered near the edge of a lakeside estate. The water is still enough to be glass, the kind that reflects both your face and your daydreams. Fireflies flit near the reeds, blinking with the same irregular rhythm as old Wi-Fi routers. Helpful, but not reliable. Beside the lake, a pavilion rises, just a few posts, a roof, and open air. Two samurai sit at opposite ends, back straight, expressions unreadable. Between them, a game board, wooden tiles, silence. And fans, one each, resting on their laps like sleeping animals. While you settle nearby, respectfully distant, and observe. One of them moves a tile, the other nods, opens his fan, and gently waves once. Not at his opponent, not at himself, just out into the air, as if responding to a thought. Historical fact. During the period 1336-1573, samurai used fans during diplomacy and formal duels, not just as fashion or flair, but as tools for non-verbal signaling. Raising a fan could mean acceptance, refusal, challenge, or agreement, depending on the situation. In some high-stakes encounters, the wrong angle of a fan could escalate a minor disagreement into an honorable bloodbath. Communication, it's always been hard. The game continues. A quiet battle, and every few moves one of them adjusts the fan. Opens, closes, taps once on the knee. Well, this is no accident. You realize something now. This is more than etiquette. It's choreography, a duel disguised as leisure, chess with breeze. An obscure cultural tidbit. In some Edo period games, fans were used to conceal the players' faces not just from each other, but from the spirits believed to gather around moments of competition. You'd think ghosts would have better things to do, but apparently not. A soft clink breaks the stillness. One tile falls. The man on the right exhales. Well, the match ends. No one bows, no one declares a winner. They just rise, collect their fans, and walk into the darkness like memory itself. You remain seated, the lake is still watching, so is the moon. Historians still debate whether these strategic fan gestures were or improvisational. Did each clan have its own visual dialect? Did they pass them down like recipes? What is clear is this: the fan was never passive. It wasn't there just to cool your face. It was a blade, a shield, a paragraph of silence. And in this moment, you understand. Sometimes what's unsaid carries the most weight. You wake to the sound of sandals on gravel. It's okay, maybe you didn't fall asleep exactly, but you were drifting. Sitting by that lake did something to your spine and your thoughts. Time loosened its grip just long enough for your head to nod like an ancient scholar agreeing with a bird. Now you're following the sound. The gravel path leads through a grove of pines, tall, stern, whispery. They don't gossip, these trees. They pass secrets like currency, letting wind be the courier. You follow the footsteps to a narrow hall lit by paper lanterns. A man is sweeping, slowly, deliberately. His movements are as smooth as ink strokes curved with quiet purpose. On his back, embroidered in thread barely visible under the dim light, is the symbol of a fan. Not a family crest, a guild mark. A historical fact. By the 17th century, Kyoto had several established fan-making guilds. These craftsmen were responsible for not only the physical construction, but also the hidden symbology encoded in fan art. They weren't just artisans, they were cultural librarians with bamboo glue under their fingernails. You greet him with a bow. He returns it without pause and gestures you forward. Inside is not a workshop but a shrine, not to a god but to the tools themselves, blades for splitting slats, paintbrushes, ribbons of faded paper. A single fan is framed beneath a silk cloth, its surface brushed in gold and soot. This belonged to a poet, the man says softly, voice like creased linen. He wrote only when the wind moved. A poetic nonsense, maybe or maybe genius. History's full of those blurry lines. He hands you a half-finished fan, just the frame, no fabric. You hold it up to your face like a sieve. The light passes through. Then he adds, some fans were never meant to be finished. They're given as offerings to time. An obscure tidbit. In certain fan-maker traditions, unfinished fans were intentionally buried beneath floorboards to protect a house from fire. Supposedly, the unfulfilled wind would trap sparks. This may or may not have worked, but it sure beats most fire insurance policies. The craftsman shows you how to thread the silk through the ribs, how to measure the arc not with rulers but by finger memory. He folds a slat and tests the pressure with his thumb, murmuring, "Too tense. Wind doesn't like tension." Well, you laugh, but he's serious. He wraps the frame in a protective cloth and places it on the altar beside the others. Each fan outlives its maker, he says, but it never forgets who taught it to move. You step back into the night. A lantern flickers. The wind has picked up just a little, enough to remind you it's still part of the story. Historians still debate whether the spiritual associations of fan making were rooted in Shinto ritual, Buddhist minimalism, or pure artisan myth. Perhaps all three, or none. But what you feel walking back along the gravel path beneath the pine trees is simple. Though that something, someone, somewhere is always holding the air for you. Even when you're not paying attention. Morning finds you in the softest possible way. Light slipping through the bamboo slats, warm but undecided, like it's gently knocking to ask permission. You're somewhere near the market district now. You can tell because you hear the unmistakable clatter of vendors setting up, a chorus of wooden carts, clinking bowls, and someone already arguing over pickles. Someone is always arguing over pickles. Though the smells are a bit more enthusiastic here. Fermented things, fresh fish, and whatever passed for deodorant in the 15th century. But you're not offended, you're curious. As you wander through stalls lined with silks, lacquerware, and very dubious herbs, you notice something odd. Fans are everywhere, not just being sold, though yes, dozens of stalls wave them like flags, but being used. Flicked open in gestures, folded to emphasize a point, snapped shut in frustration. It's like you're inside a world-sized kabuki performance and the fans are running the show. At one stall, a merchant is selling fans shaped like leaves. Real ones, lacquered and pressed flat between rice paper, fragile as a moth's wing. Another man is trying to convince a noblewoman that his fan lined with tiny copper slats will attract more suitors. She looks unconvinced but intrigued. You hover near an older woman hunched over a basket of used fans. No packaging, no labels. Just objects once loved, now quietly waiting for someone new. She lifts one gently. This one, she murmurs, belonged to a courtesan who made emperors cry. A historical fact, in the district, Edo's famed red light quarter, courtesans were trained in fan dancing. It wasn't just about seduction, it was choreography, even coded communication. A flick meant rejection. A slow sweep across the chest, invitation. Folding the fan shut while laughing, deep sarcasm. Frankly, she'd fit in well on Twitter. You buy the fans. Not because you believe the story, but because you want to. Its paper is soft, the paint half flaked away. but you can still make out cherry blossoms and the faint curve of a woman's sigh if such a thing could be painted. An obscure cultural tidbit. Some fans, known as were reinforced with iron and carried as concealed weapons, especially in places where swords were banned. A polite dinner could turn dangerous if the fan snapped the wrong way. While you tuck your new relic into your sash. The scholars still debate whether stories like this belonged to a courtesan who made emperors cry, were real or just brilliant marketing by fan resellers. Either way, it worked. You walk on, your fan brushing against your hip with each step like a pulse. Quiet, rhythmic, yours now. And somewhere behind you, the market breathes, laughs, sells, forgets. Oh, but the fan remembers. While you find yourself beneath a bridge. Not under it in the hide from the rain sense. More beside it. A small tea stand squats near the edge, more shack than shop, run by an elderly man with a fox-shaped teapot and the kind of permanent squint that implies he knows everything and will tell you none of it. You sit, he doesn't ask what you want, he just pours. It's barley tea, roasted, nutty, faintly bitter in a comforting way. Like a wise insult from someone who loves you. Oh, he notices the fan in your sash. He says. Oh, you shake your head, just a courtesan's story. Oh, he smiles without humor. That's what they all say until it opens itself. Oh, he sets down a second cup. Not for you, for the air, maybe a spirit, maybe memory, maybe just a habit. A historical fact. The martial art of fan fighting was taught to samurai, especially those serving in courtly or diplomatic roles. Since they couldn't always wear swords indoors, they learned to disarm or strike with a fan instead. Blocking sword strikes with a fan wasn't just movie flair, it was strategy. Elegant, ruthless, and unexpected. Now you open your fan slowly. It doesn't attack anyone. But the air changes. A small breeze maybe, or just your imagination finally waking up from its nap. Though the tea master nods once, as if the fan has passed some test. Do you know, he says, some say fans can store arguments, like rooms hold echoes. You blink, that's not a fact, that's folklore or something between. An obscure detail. In some rural superstitions, people believed a fan left open overnight could trap an argument from earlier in the day, so they folded it and put it under their pillow to seal the conflict. Whether that worked is unclear, but there's something appealing about a tool that folds away trouble. Though the tea master sips, "You're carrying stories," he says, "don't let them fold too tightly." You're not sure what he means, but you nod. That's the rule in conversations like this. You nod and the wisdom gets absorbed like osmosis. He waves you off with a half-fan gesture, wrist bent, fingers loose. Not goodbyes. Just carry on. And so you do. You walk across the bridge. Below, the river moves with its usual indifference. It doesn't care about fans or samurai or even emperors who cried over courtesans. It just goes. You lean on the railing and fan yourself once, not because it's hot, just because it feels right. The scholars still debate whether the samurai truly trusted the fan as a defensive weapon, or if it was more symbolic, a final gesture of dignity before chaos. Now you think it's both. Because in this world, some things cut deeper when they look gentle. And as the river hums beneath your feet, your fan resting in your palm like a folded truth, you begin to understand. Though this isn't just an object. It's a sentence you haven't finished reading. Yet, you don't remember how long you've been walking. But isn't that the point? The streets have blurred into a soft repetition, white walls, moss-covered tiles, the occasional sleeping dog curled like a comma in a sentence that no one finished reading. People pass you with the rhythm of wind-blown leaves. You feel like a background character in someone else's scroll painting. Quiet, decorative, irrelevant. And then you hear the bells. Not temple bells, these are smaller, lighter, hung from the sleeves of dancers. You're standing at the edge of a public square just in time for a local festival. Not a grand one. No fireworks or parades. Just villagers, families, and a raised wooden platform at the center where dancers move in slow circles, each holding fans painted with waves and cranes and gold dust that flickers like stardust. The children mimic from the sidelines, their paper fans floppy and eager. An old man naps under a parasol. A dog tries to eat a rice ball and fails. You find a place to sit on the low stone wall. You watch. Though the dancers step, pause, fold, open, gesture, it's hypnotic, like watching time rehearse. A historical fact. Bon, the dance performed during festivals in Japan, often includes fan choreography. It's a ceremonial dance to welcome ancestral spirits, an annual invitation to the dead to come dance with the living. Yes, it's both a party and a because why not? One of the dancers falters slightly. Maybe she's tired, or maybe a spirit stepped on her foot, and you notice the crowd doesn't mind. That's the point. This dance isn't for perfection, it's for remembering. An obscure cultural tidbit. In some rural villages, fans were offered to the graves of the recently departed as cooling gifts, in case the journey from the afterlife was too warm, especially if the ancestor had a temper when alive. You chuckle softly. Imagine being so cranky they still worry about your mood after death. The dance ends. Applause is more of a murmur than a roar. That feels appropriate. These aren't celebrities. These are people folding their grief into rhythm. The children resume their flopping. The rice ball is gone, either eaten or surrendered. You notice one dancer has tears in her eyes. She isn't hiding them. You wonder who she was dancing for. Historians still debate whether these dances date back to Buddhist rituals, Shinto harvest celebrations, or a quiet blend of both. The records are vague, which is fitting because grief has always refused to be neatly labeled. You rise from the stone wall. You fan yourself, not because of the heat, but because someone just handed you memory. And it's warm, you take a quieter road. It winds gently up a hill where the houses thin out and the trees return. A cicada calls out a warning. Summer is still here, even if the breeze tries to convince you otherwise. There's a gate up ahead, modest, weathered, the kind that was built with ceremony but aged into silence. You duck under it, half expecting a monk to greet you, but the path leads to a garden. No statues, no offerings, just a series of stones spaced just far enough apart to require attention, like they're daring you to daydream. You don't. You tread slowly. As at the far end, a woman sits beneath a persimmon tree, sketching something on paper with a brush held too delicately for anyone in a hurry. She looks up, doesn't smile, just gestures. You sit across from her in the dirt. Laid between you are several folded fans, but these are strange, thicker, denser, covered not with cranes or blossoms but text. Poetry. A historical fact. During the period 794–1185, aristocrats would write poetry on folding fans and exchange them at court like literary flirtation devices. The fan became a bridge between silence and intimacy. If your poem was good, the fan might be returned. If not, well, you'd see it discarded at the next banquet. Rejection in 17 syllables. So she hands you a blank fan and a brush. No pressure. You think for a long time. You write. Even the wind waits. Folded between bamboo slats. Like your sleeping breath. You're not a poet, but in this moment the syllables feel right. She reads it, then hands you one of hers. It reads, the fan hides nothing. Only the noise of the world. Pretending to hush. You exchange no further words, just brushstrokes and breath. An obscure cultural tidbit. Some poets would intentionally fold their fans after writing, believing the crease enhanced the meaning, literally hiding the best part of the poem in the bend. Subtlety was everything. A great poem wasn't just written, it had to be hunted. You both fan yourselves not for heat, for rhythm. The wind joins in. She finally speaks. There are fans that cool you, fans that cut, and fans that remind you who you used to be. You don't respond because you know which one you're holding now. Historians still debate whether these poetic fan exchanges ever influenced actual political decisions. Some suggest love poems helped avoid wars. Others say it caused a few. Romance has always had a surprising body count. You leave your fan behind. Not out of rudeness, but because it feels like it belongs here. You walk back down the hill lighter, as if the poem removed something from you. Or perhaps just unfolded something that had been tucked away for too long. You head toward the coast now. The road narrows, carved between cliffside and sea, and the wind is stronger here, more confident. It tugs at your sleeves like an eager child with something to show you. You round a bend, and there it is. A small shrine nestled in a crevice of stone as if it grew there by accident and never apologized for staying. There are no crowds, no monks, just the faint scent of salt and an offering box guarded by a particularly unimpressed cat. So you drop a coin in any ways. Though the air shifts just slightly. You sit on a smooth rock nearby, not to pray but to breathe. Below, the waves curl and slap against themselves like they're arguing about who gets to reach the shore first. A few boats bob lazily in the distance, too far to tell if they're fishing or simply lost. Beside you is a wooden plaque, weathered and sun-bleached. The kanji is faded but still legible enough. It speaks of No, the tragic samurai hero who once fled across these cliffs, pursued by his own brother. Legend says he stopped at this very rock, opened his war fan, and whispered a poem to the sea before vanishing into legend. His historical fact was a 12th century warrior celebrated for his brilliance in battle and his heartbreak in politics. Despite his military genius, his brother, Japan's first shogun, saw him as a threat. Forced to flee, became a romantic symbol of loyalty betrayed. Think of him as the Hamlet of feudal Japan, only with more armor and fewer soliloquies. You close your eyes and try to imagine him here. The salt in his beard, the weight of both honor and exile pressing against his ribs. An obscure detail, it's said that carried a white fan painted with red not as a weapon but as a banner. A silent signal to his remaining followers, I am still alive, I am still trying. Some believe the fan was later burned in a ritual, the ashes scattered to sea so his spirit would never stop moving. You look down at your own fans. The plane's quiet but not empty. So the wind picks up. It rustles your sleeve. So the cat finally looks at you. And then looks away as if to say, you're not legendary, but you're trying. You smile. Though that's enough. For today. The inland path is quieter now. Fewer travelers. Just the occasional woodcutter, a child with a bucket, and a wandering monk humming something tuneless that still feels like a song. You come upon an inn just as the light softens to that magic hue between gold and goodbye. The sign creaks. The door slides open without you touching it. Either the wind is helpful or this place likes to pretend it's haunted. Inside, it's warm. Tatami mats creak under your feet. A low fire simmers something mildly suspicious in a pot, fish, maybe, or a very brave root vegetable. You're shown to a corner. A tray appears. Tea, pickles, rice, you eat in silence. Not because you have nothing to say, but because the silence here is delicious. On the wall hangs a single large fan. But this one is different. It's mounted like a scroll, hand-painted. The lacquered ribs are black as ink and sharp at the tips. The paper is rich, the design unmistakable, rising dragons tangled with falling maple leaves, the kind of symbolism that says balance and danger in the same breath. Though the innkeeper notices you staring. Oh, he nods. That belonged to a retainer of the clan. He used it at his last banquet. You arch an eyebrow as a gesture. The innkeeper pours more tea. No, as a shield. Is historical fact. In certain domains, high-ranking samurai and their retainers would bring iron-ribbed fans to banquets as subtle armor. Assassination was not unheard of, and dinner parties could quickly turn into duels. A folded fan in the right hand might deflect a dagger in the left. Dinner and defense. A true multitasking tradition. An obscure cultural tidbit. There's a legend of a court official who used his not to fight, but to tap rhythmically on the table during tense conversations, throwing off would-be attackers by subtly controlling the tempo of the room. Weaponized. A genius move, really. While you finish your tea, the fan on the wall stares back at you like it knows more than it's telling. Its dragons are frozen mid-snarl, maple leaves falling through time. You wonder who touched it last. You wonder who didn't survive the banquet. The innkeeper clears the tray and says nothing more, which is exactly enough. You sleep in a room that smells of cedar and moonlight. The kind of sleep where dreams hum at the edge of hearing but never interrupt. Where you wake only once, just long enough to hear a fox cry out in the distance, as if reciting an old poem no one has written down. And historians still debate whether such fans ever truly saved lives, or if their symbolism simply gave men the courage to behave more poetically in the face of knives. You believe both. Because sometimes poetry is sharper than steel, and quieter than history wants it to be. You wake up early, but the sun has already beaten you to it. A band of orange light filters through the rice paper doors, scattering itself across the tatami in strips like silent music. You lie there for a moment, still warm, not quite ready to belong to the world again. But the scent of brewing barley tea convinces you. That, and the distant thump of someone trying to start their day without grace. As outside, the inn is already breathing, an old man sweeping, a woman hauling buckets, a chicken dramatically refusing to be ignored. You thank the innkeeper with a nod and receive one in return. Words seem unnecessary this morning. You take a side path down the slope, where mist pools between the trees like yesterday's dreams refusing to lift. It smells of moss and something older than rain. Ahead there's a pavilion, a place once used for poetry readings, duels, or the kind of awkward reunions that deserve both. While you step inside, on the floor rests a single fan. It's small, simple, the paper yellowed, the ribs bent slightly as if someone once held it with trembling hands. You pick it up gently, and tucked inside the fold is a dried blossom. The camellia is historical fact. In samurai culture, the camellia was both revered and feared. It symbolized the brevity of life because the flower drops whole from its stem like a head from a body. For this reason, it was sometimes avoided in warrior households and other times worn proudly. Duality was the entire mood. A obscure cultural tidbit. In some parts of Edo period Japan, lovers would exchange camellia petals folded inside fans. One petal meant wait for me, two meant forgive me, and three, well, let's just say three meant goodbye forever but beautifully. You sit cross-legged and hold the fan open. You don't read anything. You just feel the silence pressed between the folds. So sometimes it's not the ink that carries meaning. So sometimes it's the absence. So somewhere behind you, the road has stopped trying to be a road. It's more of a trail now, pebbles and pressed grass, winding toward a grove of bamboo that waves in slow, synchronized applause. You walk through it like a secret, each step cushioned, each leaf leaning in. There's a rustling up ahead, not alarming, just a reminder that you're not the only one who walks quietly. At the edge of the grove sits a swordsman. Well, what's left of one? Not bones, don't worry. This isn't that kind of story. Just his things. A weathered scabbard lined against a stump, a small writing kit, and a folded fan resting on a low stone, catching a beam of light like it planned the timing. You approach slowly. The air changes here, thicker, like it remembers arguments or love letters never sent. You kneel and examine the fans. It's heavy, metal-ribbed. A historical fact, there was more than decoration. It could deflect blades, break bones, or signal troops. Used by high-ranking samurai when swords were forbidden, like in court or castles, it was the last weapon a man could hold without raising suspicion, unless he had very aggressive taste in accessories. An obscure cultural tidbit. There are stories of duels fought entirely with fans, no swords. A kind of code duel where honor was balanced on the flick of a wrist and the sharpness of metaphor. One man reportedly lost not because he was struck, but because he misread a poetic insult mid-movement. That's the danger of fighting with both language and steel. You turn the fan in your hand. Along the edge, a tiny inscription. The wind speaks to those who stay silent. You exhale gently and listen. There's no grand message, no ghostly whisper. Just the sound of leaves learning how to let go. You leave the fan where it was. Because not all weapons are meant to be picked up again. Some are meant to rest. Like you will eventually. You leave the grove behind not because you want to, but because time insists on motion, even when the soul prefers stillness. As a narrow wooden bridge appears, arched gently over a creek so clear it reflects the underside of dragonflies mid-flight. You pause at the top. Somewhere below, fish flicker like old thoughts, quick, beautiful, hard to hold. A breeze passes. It nudges your sleeve like a friend who doesn't say hello out loud. On the far side of the bridge stands a small open-air stage, a no-theater, half forgotten by modernity and completely ignored by GPS. The roof is cedar shingled, sloping like a sigh. Moss clings to the edges, and the floorboards look just sturdy enough to trust if you believe in charm over logic. While you step inside, the dust dances in the light like it's auditioning for a dream sequence. You sit cross-legged on the front row, though all rows are technically front here. And you wait, not for a performance, but for memory. Because this is where fans didn't just gesture, they spoke. A historical fact. In classical Japanese fans were used not just as props but as universal symbols. A flick of the fan could mean a sword drawn, a door opened, a tear shed, or a soul ascending. The fan was the actor's most expressive partner, silent but never passive. You pick up an old fan resting near the edge of the stage. It's wrapped in silk, the paper dark with age, the ribs lacquered red. A single crane is painted across its folds. Mid-flight, always mid-flight. A obscure tidbit. There's an old tradition where retired actors would pass on their performance fans to a chosen student, not during life but after death. The belief was that spirit clung to paper longer than it did to flesh, and so the fan carried more than just air. You hold the fan up to your face and mimic the old actor's gesture. Not mockingly, reverently. As a fan folded and raised hides 100 expressions. One flick and it reveals just enough to make a room lean forward or back. You lower it. The theater remains empty. But you feel seen anyway. You rise and leave it there. Still mid-performances. Forever mid-flight. The road widens as if exhaling. You find yourself in a small town, the kind where everyone knows everyone else and most of them assume you're lost. A noodle cart squeaks by, trailed by the smell of broth and a dog that clearly has no job but excels at following noodles. You stop at a small stall selling trinkets, carved netsuke, tiny ink brushes, and of course fans. So many fans. They're clipped to twine like wind-dried laundry. Blue, gold, crimson, painted with everything from tigers to turnips. One has a cartoonish fish that looks deeply concerned about its own existence. Another is painted with a scene of Mount so detailed you feel like you could fall into it. You pick up a fan that's strange. A black paper, no decoration, but heavy. The vendor peers up from behind a stack of tiny sake cups. That one's a sensu. You blink, gesture fan. He nods, used in storytelling. A historical fact. Sensu were fans used by performers, solo comedic storytellers who sat on cushions and with just a fan and a cloth acted out entire casts of characters. A single flick became a sword, a letter, a sake bottle, or even a horse. You didn't watch, you believed it. Though the vendor smiles like he's heard 1,000 fake laughs and still prefers silence. You perform, he asks, handing you a cup of tea before you answer. You shake your head. But the fan is still in your hand. He shrugs, maybe next life. An obscure cultural tidbit. In some schools, the fan was considered so sacred that apprentices weren't allowed to touch it until they had memorized 50 stories. Until then, they trained using only a folded napkin, and if the napkin tore, they had to start again. So you hand it back gently. So the vendor doesn't charge you for the tea. So some things are paid for in time. You wander on, past children shouting about ghosts and uncles debating whether miso tastes better during typhoons. So the town dissolves behind you, but the weight of that black fan lingers. Fans were never just for cooling. They were for transforming nothing into something. Silence into narrative. Gesture into meaning. You keep walking. And the stories keep unfolding. You walk until the road begins to dissolve again, not vanish, just soften. Cobblestones melt into pressed earth and lanterns become fewer, more reluctant to glow. This place doesn't try to impress visitors, it simply continues. A shrine waits at the edge of the trees. It's smaller than the others you've passed, humble, weather-worn, the red paint peeling like sunburned memory. But it holds itself with that certain quiet authority only shrines and great-grandmothers can manage. You bow slightly as you pass through the torii gate. It doesn't ask for devotion, only awareness. The courtyard is still, save for a line of wind chimes hanging from the eaves. They don't ring, they breathe. A gentle clinking now and then, like porcelain sighing. On a small stone altar sits another fan. Love, of course it does. But this one's different. It's open, not folded, and its paper is translucent, fragile as a dragonfly wing. There's something written across it, hand-brushed in ink that started to fade. While you step closer, and read it. A warrior reads the wind. You sit on the steps, not reverently, just tired in that sacred kind of way. Your bones feel old, your thoughts younger than usual. A historical fact, samurai were trained not just in martial skill but also in divination, meteorology, and reading natural signs. Interpreting wind direction wasn't superstition, it was battlefield calculus. And fans with their radial spokes were sometimes used like primitive compasses, catching breezes and decoding fate. Though the fan flutters gently, just once. A obscure cultural tidbit. There's an Edo-era belief that if a fan opens without being touched, someone you've forgotten is remembering you. If it closes on its own, the memory has let go. You watch it move again. Just barely. You wonder who out there has remembered you without meaning to. Maybe no one's, maybe everyone's. Historians still debate whether this particular shrine was ever truly used by samurai or simply became sacred by rumor alone. But standing here, you don't care much for the academic fight. You feel something, and maybe that's enough. You press your hand to the wooden frame of the shrine as you rise. It's warm from the sun, or maybe from something else. You don't look back as you leave. Because not every sacred thing needs your gaze to remain holy. Night is approaching like a story with a slow beginning and no desire to reach its climax. You find yourself on a hill. Not just a hill. Grassy, broad-shouldered, smelling faintly of smoke and yuzu. The kind of place you'd take someone if you had something honest to say or nothing at all. Both would be welcome here. As at the top, an old tree, gnarled, leaning just slightly left as if listening for news from the wind. And under that tree, someone has set a small bench. One of the legs is uneven, so it rocks slightly when you sit. Perfect. You pull out your own fans. One you picked up a few towns back. Simple linen papered with a bamboo handle that creaks when opened. You fan yourself once just for show. And then just sit. A soft creaking joins you. Another person. As elderly maybe. It's hard to tell, their face is lined, but not from sadness, just weather. They sit beside you without speaking, without asking, which honestly feels better. You both fan yourselves slowly. It becomes a rhythm. Like two strangers agreeing to breathe in sync. Finally, they say, you know what I miss. The way people used to write secrets on fans. You glance over. They smile. You didn't hear that in a book, you felt it. Fans were coded, not just folds and ribs, messages, colors. The angle someone tilted it when you walked into a room, like handwritten silence. You nod because they're not wrong. A historical fact, in feudal courts, folding fans, particularly those painted with gold foil, were used in covert communication. Different ways of fanning meant yes, no, ask again, or he's lying. A discreet flick could save a life or end a plot. The person laughs softly. I once ruined a whole conversation because I dropped mine mid-sentence. Imagine accidentally saying, I adore you when you meant I'm hungry. You smiled too. A obscure cultural tidbit. In Kyoto, there was a brief trend where lovers would paint secret poems on the underside of fan ribs, so thinly you could only read them when held up to the moonlight. Naturally, this caused several awkward mix-ups when fans were borrowed. The wind shifts. Your companion closes their fan and places it on the bench between you. This one belonged to my mother, they whisper. I think she used it more to say things she couldn't say out loud than to keep cool. You both sit a while longer. I know more words. Just the sound of grass being grass. Eventually they rise. And leave the fan behind. You don't touch it. Some gestures are already complete. You just stay there, letting the night fold itself softly around you, like a fan closed by careful hands, like a chapter ending with no punctuation, like silence being its own form of respect. You linger under the tree, until the wind forgets your names. And that's when you know it's time to go. Not rushed, not pulled, just nudged like a bookmark laid gently between pages. Though the descent from the hill is quiet, your steps press into the soft grass, and even the crickets seem to pause between notes, like they're unsure if they're part of the score. Eventually, you reach a grove of trees clustered around a shallow pond. The water is mirror still, the kind of surface that seems too perfect, like it's trying to trick you into stepping through it. You don't, but you sit nearby. There's a small stone lantern cracked down the center, blooming with moss. Time loves imperfection, it's how it recognizes us. Across the pond, a young man practices something. Slowly, deliberately. You squint. It's not swordplay, not quite. It's a dance. But no music. Just the rhythm of cloth and movement, and the sharp, soft snap of a folding fan being opened and closed with precision that's almost reverence. He sees you watching. He nods without stopping. You nod back, pretending you've seen this 100 times before. He continues. Historical fact. In the Edo period, some styles of martial arts incorporated fan dance techniques not for combat but for focus. The fan wasn't a weapon, it was a metronome for the spirit. Samurai were taught that grace was a form of discipline, and poise in movement led to poise in battle. The young man finishes with a bow so crisp you almost applaud, but clapping feels too loud here, too final. He disappears behind the trees without a word, like he never meant to be witnessed. Only remembered. An obscure cultural tidbit. There exists a nearly lost form of etiquette where fan placement during tea ceremonies conveyed complex messages, laid horizontally for neutrality, tipped vertically for favor, and slightly askew for flirtation. Tea was served. Feelings were declared, all in silence. You glance at your own fan again. Slightly open, slightly tilted. No one around to notice. Still, you adjust it just in case. Because you never really know who's watching. Or remembering. Or reading your silence like scripture. You stand. Though the pond is still again. The fan tucked into your obi feels a little heavier. Not burdened, just full. And so are you. You wander into a place that feels like the edge of memory. Not a town, not a forest. Something in between. There are ruins here, not dramatic or cinematic, just quiet bones of buildings long out of breath. An archway missing its gate. A wall that no longer defends anything but weeds. Roof tiles scattered like discarded intentions. But there's a beauty in it. Though the way collapse softens things. How time wears down what ego built up. In the middle of this gentle ruin stands a single platform. Raised, circular, shaded by an old cedar that seems too proud to die and too old to care. So you climb up, pause it, and you wait again. Well, you're getting good at that. So eventually, a traveler appears, elderly but sharp-eyed, wearing travel-worn robes and carrying a fan so old the lacquer has peeled into a pattern that looks like a topographical map of forgetting. They sit across from you, legs folded like they were never young enough to cross easily. Well, you don't speak, but after a moment they do. You know what most people misunderstand about fans. You raise your eyebrows. No, you don't. They think they're for temperature. They chuckle, voice like gravel smoothed by river water. But really, fans are for timing. You lean forward. They buy you a second, a pause, a moment to think. When someone asks you something difficult, open the fan. That buys you time to consider. Close it too fast, you look flustered. Too slow, you look calculated. Just right, they wink. You look wise. You smile. All because it makes a sense. A historical fact. In formal samurai audiences, fans were often used to regulate speech cadence. Open fan, your turn. Closed fan, the conversation ends. It was less about temperature and more about social temperature. The elder pulls out a small pot of ink and a rice paper scroll. They begin writing slowly, using the folded edge of their fan as a straight edge. You notice the characters, old poetry. Maybe a memory. Maybe a confession. It's obscure cultural tidbit. In remote mountain villages, it was tradition to write a single line of verse on your fan at the start of the summer and erase it only once the first leaves fell. Some never erased them at all. They let the season carry it away. The elder looks up. Their hand pauses. I once wrote something so personal, I never opened the fan again. You nod. Is it still written there? They look at it. Maybe. You both sit quietly as the wind shifts. The fan remains closed on their lap. Whatever it says, it doesn't need to be spoken. The breeze carries the rest. Somewhere between dusk and deeper dusk, you find the fan workshop. Or maybe it finds you. It's tucked behind an old inn, half swallowed by bamboo and shadow, the kind of place you wouldn't notice unless you were moving slowly enough to need it. The doorway is so low you have to bow to enter, intentional, you're sure. Inside, it smells like lacquer and plum wood and stories that stayed too long in the same room. A woman is working at a bench. Thin glasses, hair tied with a silk cord, her sleeves pushed up in a way that says she has no time for aesthetics, but her obi is embroidered with cranes in flight. She doesn't greet you, just gestures to the cushion opposite her. You sit softly. Before her are fans in various states of becoming. Some just wooden spines, some painted already, some warped by humidity. She's carving something small with a knife no longer than your pinky. You want to see the old style, she says, not as a question. You don't answer. It seems she's not waiting for one. She brings out a fan that's heavier than it looks. Not paper, not cloths. The metal. The ribs are iron, the folds made of thin, polished steel. It doesn't shimmer, it broods. She says, war fan. Samurai carried these when swords were forbidden. She opens it with a flick of the wrist. It hisses. Used for defense, signaling, sometimes to remind someone of their manners. Quietly, of course. A historical fact. The literally iron fan was carried by samurai, especially when entering places where swords were prohibited, such as courtrooms. It could block blows, signal formations, or be used with deadly force without raising suspicion. You imagine slipping one into a sleeve, folding diplomacy, weaponry, and theater into a single object. It's hard not to feel impressed, or maybe quietly terrified. She closes it and hands you another. Now this one is soft, painted with pale wisteria. A fan of farewell, she murmurs, given when someone leaves for battle or when someone leaves for good. Now you hold it. It feels like dusk. An obscure cultural tidbit. In some regions of Japan, fans used during goodbyes were never kept. They were burned after the parting, the ashes scattered at crossroads to confuse wandering spirits who might try to follow the one who left. She takes it gently from your hands. I've burned a few, she says, for people who stayed too long in my head. She smiles but doesn't laugh. You ask softly how long she's been making fans. She shrugs since my hands stopped shaking. You stay for tea. She doesn't serve it. It's already there somehow, you drink. And when you leave, she places a small unfinished fan in your hands. The frame only, no paper yet. It's good to carry something not finished, she says. It keeps you soft. You bow lower than the doorway this time. The fan is warm in your palm. And very quiet. Night deepens. But it isn't darkness, not exactly. It's like the air has thickened just enough to be noticed. Not oppressive, just more present, like the sky has exhaled and settled closer to the ground. You're back on the road, the kind that doesn't go anywhere urgent. Gravel crunches beneath your feet, irregular and honest. Lanterns line the path now, faintly glowing with. You pass one and catch your own reflection in its glass, soft, indistinct, quieter than you remember being. As eventually, the road bends around an old temple gate. And there's music. No, not music. Dojans. Low, rounded syllables rising and falling like the breath of mountains. They're not meant to stir you. They're meant to level you out. You enter the courtyard. Several monks sit beneath an awning, robes like melted ink. Eyes half-lidded as they fan themselves in rhythm with the chanting. One notices you. They nod, not a welcome, not a command, just a shared moment. You sit at the edge of the stone floor, your back against a pillar older than every story you've ever heard. Though the fan you were gifted rests in your lap incomplete, Still frame, still future. One of the monks rises and walks to you, then kneels beside you silently. They extend their own fan cloth, inked with constellations. Oh, this one tracks time, they say. So you blink. They smile, 1 stroke per hour of chant, 12 strokes per day. After a year, you have a galaxy. You smiled too. Of course you do. A historical fact. Certain Zen monasteries used fans to mark meditative time cycles. By adding 1 brush stroke per hour during chant, monks created visual records of their devotion, like calendars that never needed dates. So the monk points to the handle of your fan. Write 1 word, they whisper. When you sleep, it will open. While you hesitate. Then you write stillness. It feels honest. A obscure cultural tidbit. In some parts of rural Japan, people believed that dreams would be carried away if you slept near a fan that had your handwriting on it. So they'd write worries before bed, hoping to wake lighter. Though the monk bows. You bow deeper. And the fan, your fan, shivers once in your hand, as if testing the word. Stillness. You stay until the chanting fades. And only then do you notice how quiet your mind has become. Like a room finally emptied of noise. Not echoing. Just ready. You wake before the sun does. The world isn't quite awake, but it's also not asleep. It's that strange in-between hour when the mist clings to the earth like it's reluctant to let go, and even birds seem to hum instead of sing. You sit at the edge of a sloped garden on a wooden porch that creaks just enough to remind you it's older than your presence here. There's a bowl of rice beside you. Steam rising like tiny stories untold. You eat slowly out of politeness to the moment. And from your lap, the unfinished fan rests like a soft question. Though the temple behind you doesn't speak. But down below, just beyond the garden's stone path, is something that pulls at your curiosity. A gathering of children seated in a circle, whispering to each other while an older woman paces slowly around them. She holds a fan not to cool herself, but to tap the ground with each step. It's like punctuation, a rhythmic reminder that they are still listening. You get closer, careful not to intrude, and watch. She begins to open the fan slowly with each sentence she speaks, like the unfolding of a thought. She's telling a story. And the fan, it plays a part. As every turn of her wrist matches a change in tone. A flick upward surprise. A pause mid-fold anticipation. A sudden close revelation. A historical fact. During the Edo period, folding fans weren't just props, they were tools for communication, especially in theater. In kabuki and no plays, a single fan could represent a sword, a letter, a cup of sake, or even the wind itself. Actors trained for years to master its nuances. Though the children gasp as she slaps the fan closed with a snap that startles even you. She laughs softly. Though they laugh with her. A obscure cultural tidbit. In some remote Japanese schools, there were once secret fan-passing games where children would write dares or riddles inside the folds. Passing an unopened fan to a classmate meant accepting the challenge inside. The teacher, completely unaware. Usually. One little girl reaches up, asking to hold the storyteller's fan. The woman nods, letting her take it. The girl opens it slowly, mimicking the same gestures, trying to make her voice softer, rounder. And as she speaks, the others listen. Not because the story is perfect, but because the fan tells them it matters. You back away, returning to your seat with a strange warmth behind your ribs. Your own fan is still blank, but it no longer feels incomplete, as it feels like it's waiting on you, not the other way around. Later that day, you find the old calligraphy house at the edge of a rice field. You wouldn't have noticed it, except the breeze caught a hanging scroll just right, and it fluttered with the sound of someone clearing their throat politely. The door is already open. The man inside doesn't look up as you enter. He's hunched over a long table, his brush gliding in silent spirals, the ink fanning outward like ripples across the page. You bow. He grunts softly. You said. The silence stretches, not awkward, just deliberate like everything here. And after a long while, he speaks. People think fans are written for others, but most of the time, he looks up finally, they're written for the person who folds them. You nod, not fully understanding, but somehow agreeing. He gestures to a small tray with thin paper squares. Pick one, write something. You pause. Your fingers hover over the brush. Your truth isn't loud, it's not dramatic. It's just this, I carry more silence than noise. You dip the brush into ink and write slowly, one careful stroke at a time, until the characters dry like soft shadows on the paper. The calligraphy master watches, not judging, just noticing. You offer him the finished square. He doesn't take it. Fold it yourself, he says, and pushes a fan frame toward you. The wooden ribs untouched, pale. You fold the paper not like origami, but like a memory, creased once again, until your truth disappears into layers. He hands you a brush again. Now paint something you won't explain. You think for a moment. Then you draw a crooked lines. Then a circle but not closed. Then two dots just above the rim. When you're done, it looks like a road vanishing behind a hill, or a smiling face missing its mouth, or maybe the back of your eyelids when you're too tired to cry. You're not sure. He nods anyway. Good, it won't matter what people see. You'll remember how it felt. It's historical fact. During Japan's period, artisans were commissioned to paint private emotions on fans, longing, regret, restrained love, meant only for the owner's reflection. These were often burned with them at death, folded beside the body like a secret no one else would keep. Though the master takes your folded fan and slips it into a sleeve of silk. Let it rest tonight, he says. Tomorrow open it, see if it says the same thing. You nod, bow, and leave the house quietly, brushing your hand along the rice stalks as you go. They bend beneath your fingers like they know how to wait. Back at the inn, you place the fan beside your pillow. And when the candle flickers out, you wonder how many truths are folded into the things we never open. Dawn again, a little slower this time. Though the inn is quiet, even the floorboards seem to exhale as you step across them. Though the fan rests where you left it, silk sleeve still intact, you slide it free. It feels different in your hand now, heavier, but not in a burdensome way, more like it's filled. Now you sit on the veranda and open it. The folds unfurl with a soft hush, like a page turning itself in a book you thought you'd finished. There it is, your writing, faint now, absorbed into the grain, the drawing still there and still unclear. But somehow it makes more sense this morning. Less like a riddle, more like a mirror. You close it again, and for a moment you just breathe. Then you hear a sound, a sort of clatter, like wooden bones rolling over stone. You look up. Across the path, an old man is teaching 3 boys how to hold their fans, not for art or ceremony, but for balance. As they walk back and forth, fans balanced on their heads like dancers without music. The old man yells when one stumbles, then chuckles as the fan slides down into their collar. You approach and sit on a rock nearby. He eyes you, nods. You're carrying yours wrong, he says, gesturing to the fan tucked under your arm. That one wants to breathe. You set it on your lap. They used to train this way, he explains. Samurai boys, fan on the head, walk the length of the courtyard, drop it and start over. Again, discipline through softness. Is historical fact. Young samurai were sometimes trained in balance and posture using fans. Walking with one balanced atop the head or wrist was believed to refine awareness and calm instinct. An early form of mindfulness, long before the term became trendy. Though the boys start again, one manages 6 steps before the fan tilts. He groans, the old man just laughs. They think they're learning control, he mutters. Really, they're learning to fall better. He walks over to you and picks up your fan, opens it. Eyes the design. This one tells the truth. You say nothing. He places it gently on your head. Now walk. You hesitate. But you stand. And you walk. 5 steps, 6, 8. Though the wind picks up and the fan wobbles. You freeze. It balances. You breathe again. This obscure cultural tidbit. There's a in prefecture about a samurai who carried a fan with no folds, just one long, flat sheet, believing his thoughts had too many folds already. He called it the unwritten scroll. When you return to the rock, the old man smiles. Oh, better than your first 5 tries. Oh, you remind him that was your first. Oh, he shrugs, sure it was. Oh, you sit with him until the boys wander off. And the path ahead feels a little steadier. Oh, even when it curves out of sight. The path south bends along a thin river, barely wide enough to reflect the sky but wide enough to catch the breeze. You walk slowly. There's no rush. The fan in your hand opens and closes not to cool you but to keep time. It's an odd comfort, the way it snaps open like a sigh and closes like a thought changing its mind. By midday, you reach a town smaller than the name it carries. A few tiled roofs, a shrine shaded by willow trees, and a weathered wooden stall where an old woman sells pickled plums and dyed paper. You stop. She doesn't ask why. She just looks at the fan in your hand and says, "Ah, you're on that kind of walk." So you ask what kind? The kind people take when the inside's noisier than the road. Well, fair enough. You sit on the short bench beside her stall, and she pours you something warm in a cracked clay cup. It tastes like barley, sun-warmed and left to think for a while. Oh, she gestures to a stack of folded fans beside her. All forgotten, she says. People trade them for new ones, never take the old ones back. But none of them are broken, just done talking. So she hands you one. Yeah, you unfold it, a poem. Not printed, brushed by hand, the strokes delicate but sure. Each fold carries a line. When the shadow leaves, I bow anyway. When the tea grows cold, I drink it slow. When silence comes, I make it room. You don't ask who wrote it. You don't need to. A historical fact. In some temples during the period, monks used fans as meditation tools, not for cooling but as silent companions. A phrase or sutra written across the folds could be read slowly with each breath, guiding the mind inward, not outward. You hold the fan against your chest and close your eyes. While the wind shifts, the woman hums a melody you don't recognize, but somehow already know. An obscure cultural tidbit. In certain regions of rural Japan, people once believed fans could capture lingering emotions. If you whispered into a folded fan and tied it shut with ribbon, the feeling would stay trapped until you let it go. Weddings, funerals, reunions, they all had their fans. You ask her if she's ever opened any. She laughs only once. It smelled like rain and apologies. You leave your own fan beside the old stack when you go. Not because it's done talking, but because now you're ready to listen. The next day, you arrive at a lakeside village where the wind has no manners. As it pulls at your robe, it tosses blossoms into your hair. It tries to snatch your satchel more than once. But no one here seems to mind. Children run with kites shaped like foxes and carp. Old men drink tea with their sleeves rolled high and their fans tucked behind their ears like pens. You step into a tea house made almost entirely of windows. The sound of wind pressing against glass is oddly soothing, like the world's trying to get your attention without really meaning it. You sit by the edge and the server brings you a fan. Not a menu of fans. Each fold lists a tea. You laugh. The server bows. You'd be surprised how many people order without unfoldings. You open the fan slowly. First fold smoked barley, second roasted green, third plum blossom, fourth cloud tea. You choose the fourth, mostly because it sounds like something you'd order if you didn't want to talk about your feelings. They bring it in a shallow bowl, the steam curling like a shy dancer. I'll use a sip. It tastes patient. You ask where the idea of tea fans came from. The server shrugs. Marketing, probably, but the samurai did it better. A historical fact. In some elite tea schools, samurai were expected to use a ceremonial fan, not just as decoration, but to indicate when they wished to speak or remain silent. Folding it meant deferring. Opening it halfway meant permission to challenge a subtle, socially acceptable duel of manners. You stare at your fan. Folded, it's quiet. Opened, it tells stories. Half open, it's a question no one has the answer to. You decide to leave it slightly ajar on the table. Just in case. A obscure cultural tidbit. In a few fishing villages near lake, it was once customary for brides to gift their new in-laws a fan made from the reeds of the lake, dyed with crushed apricot skin. The gesture meant, I will bend but not break. As after tea you wander along the lake, trailing your hand in the waters. You see a fan floating near a stone pier, delicate, sun-bleached, likely lost in a gust. You pluck it out, no words, just petals pressed between its folds. You dry it in the sun and leave it leaning on the pier for the next person who needs it. That night you sleep with the window open and a fan resting on your chest, not for breeze, but for memory. You wake to birds. Not a choir exactly, more like a committee of opinions in the trees, chirping over each other with no interest in consensus. The inn's paper windows glow pale gold. Someone has already swept the courtyard. There are no footprints, just the breeze rearranging petals like a painter unsure where to sign their name. You sit up slowly, your fan still folded in your lap, the lacquer slightly warmer where your hand had rested all night. For a moment, you don't unfold it, you just listen. Then, with the same care you might take when rereading an old letter, you open it. The ribs stretch with a quiet pop and you trace the spine with your thumb. There's nothing new on it, no messages scrawled by moonlight, no mystical change, but something feels steadier. The folds aren't sharper, but your memory of folding them is. and that's something. Downstairs, breakfast is already laid out. Pickled radish, hot rice, a square of sweet omelet folded like fabric. And beside the tray, another fan. This one is different, bright red, silk-backed, with a gold circle painted off-center. No note, no explanations. Just waiting. You take it with you as you walk toward the shrine nestled into the far end of the town, where the stone path climbs like it's deciding whether to be a staircase or a hill. As at the top, a priest sweeps leaves with a handmade broom. He nods when you arrive but doesn't speak. The shrine is quiet, not abandoned, just humble. Its doors are open, and inside you find racks of wooden plaques hanging from thin cords. Wishes scribbled in every kind of handwriting, hopes, regrets, confessions, reminders. Now you slip off your sandals and step in. Is historical fact. During the Edo period, it became common for samurai and nobles to offer fans at Shinto shrines, not as mere tribute, but as a symbolic surrender of pride, anger, or attachment. The fan represented not cooling, but calming. You find a small space on the offering shelf. You place the red fan there and bow once slowly. Not for religion, just for rhythm. This obscure cultural tidbit. There is a lesser-known custom where certain fans are retired rather than discarded. In Kyoto, a quiet ceremony called is held to burn old fans, thanking them for the work they've done, like giving a standing ovation to an object that never asked for applause. And outside, the priest offers you a small cloth pouch. Inside is a plain fan. A white cotton paper, bare ribs. A beginning. You thank him and descend the steps slowly, feeling the new fan press softly against your palm. It doesn't need to say anything yet. Some things can wait. The road curves west now. Flatter, warmer. The trees grow thinner, trading pine for persimmon, the shade less insistent, the breeze more casual. By now, you've stopped wondering where this all ends. You walk the way a kettle cools, gradually, quietly, releasing tension in invisible increments. The new fan stays closed at your side. It doesn't rush you. You pass a group of playing near an irrigation ditch. One of them has crafted a toy out of a paper fan and 2 sticks. It spins when the wind catches it just right. You smile. The boy notices and runs over, holding it out proudly. You kneel and take a closer look. Ink smudged across the folds, drawn with the intensity of a 5-year-old trying to remember what dragons look like. He asks if you want it. You ask if he's sure. He shrugs. I have more wind at home. This obscure cultural tidbit. In some parts of Okinawa, children used to believe that folding fans could catch the spirit of summer. They'd leave them open on windowsills during July, then run around the yard pretending to scatter sunshine when waving them. You tuck the dragon fan gently into your bag. Later, in a quiet village where even the dogs seem unsure about barking, you find an open-air market. A woman sells herbs in bundles tied with rice straw. Another offers fans with haiku written on the edge in tiny script, so small you have to tilt the fan against the light to read them. So you pick one up. I wave the silence. Come closer until it sits still. No wind, only breaths. You don't need to buy it. The words stay with you. A historical fact. In the late Tokugawa era, it became fashionable among courtiers and traveling poets to gift fans not with gold or decoration, but with carefully chosen phrases, seasonal, brief, and deeply personal. These fans were exchanged during moon viewing parties and poetry gatherings. You sit near a well and finally open the plain fan from the shrine. Of its empty. But in your mind, something already waits. Not a drawing, not a haiku, just a breath. The kind you take when someone says, "It's okay now." And you believe them. That night beneath an open sky with no roof, no lock, and no ticking clock, you write a single word on the blank fan. Stay. You don't explain it. You don't unfold it again. You just place it beside you as you lie back and watch the sky stretch into its next story. You wake before the sun. It's that strange, in-between hour, when the world hasn't decided whether to be night or day, and the light filtering through the trees feels more like a rumor than a promise. There's dew on your sleeves. And the fan beside you is closed quietly. No one asks you to get up, but you do because the path is still out there, waiting with the quiet patience of a cat watching the doors. You walk through a pine grove humming with birdsong and low fog, the mist curling around your ankles like shy conversation. A shrine bell chimes somewhere far away, not to summon anyone, just to say, "I'm still here." You pass a field where scarecrows are propped in the morning chill, their sleeves tied with straw rope, their faces painted in expressions more human than some humans you've known. One of them holds a broken fan. It's missing ribs, the paper's torn, but it's tucked under its arm like a treasured heirloom. You stop and nod respectfully. Because sometimes the things that break are the things we held longest. A historical fact. It was once custom for samurai widows to leave their husband's war fan at the family grave. Not the sword, not armor, the fan. A symbol of both command and vulnerability, presence and silence. You keep walking. As at a bend in the road, you see a young woman sitting by a stream dipping sheets of mulberry paper into the water. She lifts them gently, lays them on smooth stones, and pats them flat with the back of her hand. You ask what she's doing. She says, listening. Then she smiles, also making fans. You sit with her for a while. She offers you a square of damp paper, soft, translucent, like a thought you haven't said out loud yet. You press it between your palms and feel it give, like snow before it melts. A obscure cultural tidbit. Some fan makers believed that the paper absorbed the energy of the maker. If your hands were tense, the fan would ripple unevenly. If your mind was restless, the folds wouldn't align. So before beginning, they sat in silence. Some even whispered apologies to the tree the paper came from. Now you leave the paper to dry beside hers. And you walk away lighter. Not because you left something behind, but because you touched something that wasn't yours and it didn't pull away. You arrive at a village known only for wind. Not wealth, not tea, not temples. Just wind. It rustles everything, rattles rooftops, threads through every conversation like a mischievous third guest. If wind could gossip, this is where it would come to practice. And so, the people here have learned to speak in gestures. A tilt of the fan means hello. Two waves mean I'm listening. 3 short taps mean let's not talk about that here. You're given a fan at the village gates. A plain one. But the woman who hands it to you looks into your eyes like she's passing you a secret. You nod. Because by now you understand the language. You spend the day not talking. It's oddly freeing. You communicate with nods and fans and long pauses. At a noodle stall, you place your order by holding the fan half open. They nod and serve you soba with green onions. At a bridge overlooking a reed lake, a child waves her fan like a flag and you wave back. Nothing more is needed. And when you sit at the edge of the village, watching the wind ripple the grass like breath across skin, you don't unfold your fan. You simply hold it. Still, is historical fact. During certain processions in the era, entire communities would coordinate their movements using fans. Signals passed silently from one end of the crowd to the other. It was choreography without music, dance born from quiet discipline. You close your eyes. The wind brushes your cheeks. You think about the fans you've carried. The red one with the gold circle, the one with the haiku, the dragon toy from the boy, the blank one from the shrines. Each one a chapter. Each fold a pause. Each rib a reminder that strength can be built from something as fragile as paper, as temporary as breath. A obscure cultural tidbit. In the town of elderly couples used to gift each other fans on their 50th anniversary. Not for function, but for symbolism. I will always be the breeze behind you. You open the plain fan again. And this time you write nothing. You just breathe across it. Letting the wind inside, you meet the wind outside. Just for a moment. No message. No memories. Just movement. This evening leans over the mountains like a familiar hand, gently dimming the world. You've followed the path long enough now that it no longer surprises you, just welcomes you. like a rhythm you've memorized but never tried to lead. It's taken on a life of its own. Or perhaps you've simply slowed enough to notice the life that was always there. So the village behind you disappears without fanfare. No grand farewell, no parade of waving hands, just quiet people in doorways nodding as if to say, "You came, that's enough." The path slopes downward now, hugging the curves of old rice terraces, their water glinting like tired mirrors. Dragonflies dart between reeds, tracing lazy figure-eights like dancers too tired for perfection. So you stop walking, not because you're lost, because you've finally forgotten where you were trying to get. The fan in your hand feels lighter now, like it's been waiting for this moment to admit it was never about cooling anything, just calming, just carrying. A historical fact, the folding fan or sensu was one of Japan's most common diplomatic gifts from the 14th to 17th centuries. More than swords, more than silks, fans carried stories, painted alliances, even sealed treaties. One was even offered to a visiting Portuguese priest, who mistook it for a weapon and reportedly tried to parry with it. That sounds absurd until you remember how sharp silence can be. You sit near a grove of plum trees, their blossoms dry now, curling inwards like they're trying to remember themselves. Then you pull out every fan you've carried. The dragon one with its brave, uneven scribble. The poem fan, its words fading at the edges. The red gold gift, long gone but still present. The blank one, still the blank. And the toy made of nothing special, except it was. You open them one by ones. Let the breeze pass through. Let the memory breathe. You don't need to assign meaning. The meaning is that you kept them. An obscure cultural tidbit. Some temples in Nara offer a fan grave, a wooden structure where you can place your old fans, each slot labeled with a Buddhist virtue: patience, discipline, joy, stillness. It's unclear whether the fan is supposed to represent the owner or the aspiration. Now you wonder which slot would hold yours. Now maybe all of them. Now maybe none. You lie down on the grass, the fans laid out beside you like petals. As above, the stars blink in, one at a time, then in clusters, like they're slowly remembering how to shine. So the wind moves through the fans gently. So they don't flap. Now they whisper. Now you close your eyes. And for the first time in a long time, you don't feel like you're missing anything. The final morning arrives without ceremony. Just light, just breath, just the world as it is. You rise slowly. There's no hurry. The fans are still beside you, but you only carry one now, the blank one, the one you've carried furthest, the one that waited. You fold it carefully, tuck it inside your sleeve, and walk. The path dissolves into open land. No signs, no markers, just earth beneath your feet that doesn't ask questions. You come across a shrine with no roof. Are just stones, worn flat by time or prayer or rains. There's a wooden post, and beside it a bowl of white sand and a brush. You know what this is. You kneel and sweep a circle into the sand. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be yours. And then inside the circle, you write a single kanji. You're not sure which one until it appears. It means rest. Not sleep. Not end. Just rest. You place the folded fan in the center. Blow once. And leave it. A historical fact. Samurai were often buried with personal fans not because of status but because of sentiment. A fan was said to carry the last breath. Some even believed it could shade the spirit on its journey to the other side. An obscure cultural tidbit. In some rural regions of Shikoku, elderly women still keep fans beside their pillows. Not to use, but to remind them that every breath is a gift. You walk into the last field. It's full of tall grass and quiet sky. Nothing happens here. And yet it's everything. You let the grass brush your fingers. Let the breeze carry what you've learned, what you've held, what you've folded and unfolded 100 times. You carry nothing now. Because everything that mattered. It's already moved inside you. You close your eyes. The world doesn't disappear. It just hums. Softly. The air has stilled, not like it's stopped, but like it's satisfied. You sit in the tall grass, the folds of the world settling around you like a soft robe. No roads to follow now. No maps to misread. Just the slow unraveling of thought into silence. There's a fan in the distance, still open, caught on a stone. It waves once, then again, then rests. As if you're still awake, that's okay. The story was never in a rush to end, and neither are you. The ground beneath you is warm. The sky above is patient. And in between them is you. Somewhere between breath and breeze, fold and unfold, now and memory. Your shoulders soften, your jaw loosens, your heart slows its curious rhythm. Not because it's tired, or because it's safe. The fan is not closed, it's just resting, just waiting for another story. And so are you. Sleep now or not. Stillness is a destination too. And this journey, it never really ends. It just changes direction and folds itself neatly into dreams. A good night from Whispers of History. And thank you for walking slowly with us.